Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm Michelle Plasick with RE/MAX Realty Advantage.
And I'm Kim Malden with RE/MAX Realty Advantage.
And we're continuing our talk on investing
Yes.
in real estate. Last week, and we apologize for last week's internet connection. Didn't work too well. And we had some really good information and lousy video.
Sorry. So if you want to rewatch it, just turn the volume on and listen to it.
Yeah, because it was good.
It was good information, absolutely.
And today we're going to talk about flipping houses, because you see a lot of that on HGTV if you're watching any of those shows.
Oh, you see it on all kinds of channels.
And they make it sound so easy.
It is. It's so easy. It's piece of cake.
And they make it sound so profitable. Look at that. We made $60,000.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that they have a crew of 100 working on those properties.
That they have to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to pay. And is that really what they really made?
Right.
It can be very lucrative.
It can be, absolutely. We're certainly not trying to talk anybody out of it.
Right. You just have to buy right. And so in order to do that, you have to get educated.
Right. There's a few things you need to know.
One would be you need to know your market for that particular neighborhood.
Right.
And what a house can sell for. You'll see a lot of these these investment clubs, and they talk about the ARV, and what that means is after repair value. So what you see, so if you looking at a neighborhood and you say, once everything's all nice and pretty and remodeled, it's going to be able to sell for, let's pick an easy number, $200,000.
There you go.
What do you have to buy it for?
Exactly.
So you have to think about that. We have to think about what all your costs are going to be. Everybody just thinks, well, it's going to cost me $30,000 to do this because, $5,000 for the floor, $5,000 for paint. They try to figure that out in their head, and they think $30,000. But there's other costs involved that you want to think about.
Absolutely. There are other costs. So there are the hidden costs. So once you start pulling things out, you find things that you didn't expect to have. You want to think about the cost of maybe the money that you're borrowing and what that's costing you. You want to think of, the cost to get it on the market and get it sold once it's done, which, isn't just us, it's also your title company. And then of course, a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to do it all myself. And so they don't put in cost for contractors that they end up needing because maybe it was a bit more than they thought.
Because there's certain things that you can do. If you're a good painter, you can paint. You might not be able to put new countertops in, so you're going to have to call a contractor for that. Yeah. You might not be able to put in a wood floor, or maybe you could. I don't know. I mean, it just depends on what your skills are.
Yeah. And, something I've noticed is I've had a few flips that have actually been recent transactions. So I had the buyer buying them. And sorry, our phone's going off. We're not sure why. It's mine. Okay. I've had the buyer, and I've noticed that even though we're walking into a house that's flipped and everything's new and shiny, I've noticed that some of the flips aren't done really well. And so when I have a buyer that's looking at spending $1,200 to $1,400 a month on a mortgage note, and they've been spending that on an apartment, they've been living in a pretty nice apartment for $1,400 a month. So when they walk into a flip house, it needs to look new. It can't just look old that was painted over. And I have shown quite a few lately where they didn't even clean the dog fur off the baseboards before they painted them.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
It's no bueno, yeah. So when you're flipping, you want to be sure that you're doing it the right way, that you're putting in the time and the money and doing it right. And especially on floors, those LVT floors that you can cut that vinyl. Well, if you're having a hard time getting it to go around the door frames, don't just take your pliers and chip away at it. I mean, you've got to get it right. And sometimes it takes some extra time, or maybe hiring some extra help.
And do you have to put new cabinets or granite in every kitchen?
No.
But you might, if it depends on the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
If you're in a neighborhood that everybody else has granite and newer cabinets, then you're going to have to do that. One thing you don't want to do is, in certain neighborhoods, put granite on top of old cabinets that are really dated, that don't look good.
Right.
You can't get them updated even with paint.
Yes. Yeah.
So you just want to be careful. One of the things that I suggest is talk to a realtor, talk to us before you decide to flip, as far as what you need to do,
Right.
because that could make or break your deal.
Yeah.
When Kim was talking about the costs involved in doing a flip, you do have to think about your holding costs. How much? How long are you going to hold that property?
Right.
It's good to figure 6 months, just in case the market could turn on you. You may not have done as good of a job as you thought you were.
Right.
So figure that into your plan right from the beginning. That way, if you do better, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. How much that's going to be depends on whether or not you have a mortgage.
True.
And what your taxes are.
And who you borrowed your money from. Mm-hmm. If it's a regular mortgage or if it's a hard money loan. So you have to think about that too. Mm-hmm. But one of the things, when you're talking about holding a property and how long it's going to be before it sells, remember, if you are flipping something and you get it done really quickly, there are certain types of funding that buyers cannot use until 91 days after the property's changed hands. So that's another thing that you're going to want to talk to your realtor about. Mm-hmm. One of us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's the holding costs, and then of course you want to see how much profit you're going to make. And mm-hmm. So a lot of people will say right off the bat, maybe I want to make a $30,000 profit, and that can be lucrative if you're going to flip it in those 91 days. But if you're not, and you have to hold it for 6 months, well, then did you make as much?
Right.
Probably not.
And did you budget for it? So it's always better to be safe than sorry. Mm-hmm. It's the same.
Pretty much, you have to buy anywhere between 40 to 60% of the ARV, the after repair value. 40 to 60% of that, if you can buy the house. So if on a $200,000 house, you're going to have to buy it, for what? That makes it 40% of 200. That's 80 to 60% of to 120.
Yeah.
And those deals are hard to find.
They are.
They're really hard to find in today's market because there are a lot of investors out there today. A lot of investment mm-hmm. clubs, a lot of people trying to make money. These HGTV shows have gone crazy.
And make it look like you can do it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, and a lot of people are out there trying to do that. And mm-hmm. so there are a lot of professionals that are doing it. People are, doing 100 homes a year, flipping them. And they have the resources, they have the cash. It's a little bit easier for them because they have the crews to do that. If you're trying to do it on your own, we have to really search MLS hard to help you find those deals. Mm-hmm. Might not be through MLS.
Right, might not
our
be.
Multiple listing service. It might be an off-market property that we'd have to find you, which we do have. We do have resources as far as those go too.
We do.
So
and when they do come up, it's good to be prepared to jump because they don't last long. Whether they're in MLS or off market, if we know about it, chances are somebody else knows about it too. So you really want to mm-hmm. be ready to move as fast as you can mm-hmm. when the right property comes up.
Yeah. And what else? Oh, the hard money. We talked a little bit about hard money. What is that? You hear a lot of commercials, join our investment club mm-hmm. and you can buy a house with no money down, use other people's money. And yes, you can. You can find the money to purchase a house with little down payment. You can also borrow the construction costs, the mm-hmm. repair costs.
Yep.
But you're going to pay interest rate on that.
You are.
And high interest.
When we're talking about that 3 to 6 month window and you want to sell in 3 months, but you need to keep in mind that it may take 6 months, some of those hard money loans at 6 months, they're due. Mm-hmm. And so you really just have to be aware of that too and keep that in your timeline. Mm-hmm. Because that means at 6 months, you either refinance it or it's sold or it's not sold or refinanced and foreclosed. And we don't ever want that to be the case.
Yeah, we don't. So lucrative, but risky. Mm-hmm. So you just have to get yourself educated.
Yes.
And we want you to call us.
Definitely doable. So yeah, if you're interested in learning how to flip, mm-hmm. we would definitely love to help you out. So I guess that's it for today. And then next week we're doing VRBO and Airbnb, I think.
I think so.
So
more investments.
More investments. So come back to us next week. Thanks, y'all.
Ciao.
Bye.
Good. Hopefully it came out good.